Welcome to the Connection Podcast. I am Lauren Dry, also known as the Connection Catalyst. Connection and this podcast for me is personal. As a driven professional, I found myself an expert in all things work and business, but it was at home that I really needed clarity and ease. After finally finding it one marriage breakdown and one marriage reset later, and finally discovering what really works to have connection in modern relationships, using science, simplicity, and soul, our signature program, Rise into Regulation, was born. That's giving so many others in modern, driven relationships back clarity and ease for good. On the podcast today, we're going to dive deep together on all things relationships, business, identity, and leadership. And clarity and ease is at the heart of it all. And we are so happy to be with you so that you can have what you need in connection, mind, body, and soul too. If you're a woman in business who is trying to answer the age-old question of how do I maintain momentum, or how do I create or bring back connection in my marriage? How do I maintain the trajectory, the intimacy, the success I had in business and in marriage that seemed on track before I had kids, but that is now starting to deteriorate? My concentration is going, my drive is disappearing, my marriage is starting to fall apart or is definitely experiencing a lot of pressure. So, how do I bring back the success that I had pre kids, or even prepare for that period that I know a lot of other women go through? If that's a question that you're asking, then this is the episode for you. There was a question that was asked by someone at a recent networking event that I was at, and it has really stuck with me. The question she asked was something along the lines of, I have a 9-month-old baby and I'm trying to scale back at work and do a little bit more work from home, but how do I keep my business ticking along while still being a good mum at home? And I found this question so interesting because there's two ways to answer it. There's the logical answer. Okay, here's the framework, here's the schedule that you can use. But also, there's a much more fundamental shift that I think we need to create space for under the surface so that it doesn't just become a surface level fix and the wheels fall off down the track. It actually becomes something that allows us to use the big shifts in motherhood that are happening to have a better relationship, to have a more successful business, and even have a life that is even more fulfilling and more balanced post kids than it was pre kids. And to maintain our passions and purpose, parts of ourselves that really, when we have balance around that, allow us to be better parents and even better partners. Now, what's interesting about how I answered this question was, at first I shared with her a story. And that's the story of myself with 2 young kids. I think I had been pushing through pretty well at this point, getting in the long hours, following my purpose, really ticking all the boxes that I thought needed to be ticked in order to have good friendships, good marriage, good career, be a good mother. But something was happening behind the scenes. Like the cracks were starting to show. And when I dived into the statistics, I realized how common this is. Whether this happens in the first few months postpartum or you manage to postpone it for a few years down the track, the statistics are pretty shocking. So, 70% of couples experience a significant drop in relationship satisfaction after a baby. 67% report decreased happiness in their relationship. Up to 1 in 3 couples fall into clinical distress within 18 months postpartum. And the first year after having a baby is one of the highest risk periods for separation. And a lot of this is hormonal, okay? So for women, what's actually happening on a hormonal level is that estrogen drops really sharply postpartum. And estrogen is really connected to arousal, sexual desire. And so when this drops, intimacy starts to feel not only physically uncomfortable, but unappealing. It just drops down on the priority list. Your progesterone drops. So this is linked to your mood stability, your anxiety, and your emotional sensitivity. And you have less capacity to be patient, and you're more reactive to things like tone or attitude. On top of that, your oxytocin increases. So this is a bonding hormone, but the bonding is actually redirected towards your baby, not your partner. So then your partner feels like they've lost that intimate connection with you. They no longer feel like a priority. On top of that, your cortisol increases because you're stressed, you're sleep deprived, everything is new. And so your nervous system stays stuck in this survival mode, and your body's just not available for intimacy or play or your sense of humor. The thing is, for men, it's actually different. So, for men, when they become parents, their testosterone actually decreases. So, there's less pursuit, there's less sexual energy in the relationship, but also cortisol increases. So, obviously, stress and pressure and lack of sleep. So, they're more irritable, more withdrawn, they tend to shut down, and there's less emotional presence, less of a capacity for the deeper connection that the woman is actually needing as well. And there's less dopamine. So there's less motivation, less spark, and less excitement. So they're missing being the object of desire from their partner. But their partner, the woman, is actually physically, emotionally, mentally, and hormonally depleted physiologically to such an extent that even if the logical desire is there to be intimate and to emotionally connect, the blocks in place physically, mentally, emotionally are huge. So, what she needs is emotional safety and support. He needs respect and clarity and a space to feel competent. But what instead is happening is she feels alone and overwhelmed and unseen, but he feels criticized, not sure of himself, like he's getting everything wrong and that he can't get anything right. So, this is just what's happening on a hormonal level. That's not even taking into account any of the logistics of running a business or having a busy career or having other goals. And what can often happen for new mothers or women who are trying to juggle it all in those first few years is they try and push through. So they'll take supplements or they'll have other medical support, or they will rearrange their schedule so that they have higher levels of childcare or more staff involved. Not saying that any of these solutions aren't a good idea, but what's happening underneath the surface is that same just push through mentality that got them to that level of success in their business pre kids, or that allowed their relationship to get to such a good stage before kids. That same mentality of just push through, just try something else, just try a little harder. That same skill set that worked pre kids doesn't align with the tools, with your capacity, with your energetic capacity, your emotional capacity, your hormonal capacity that was there pre kids. So then what happens is women start to feel like a failure. Well, I used to be able to do this. Maybe if I just try harder, maybe if I just take a different supplement, a few more Pilates classes, get up at 5 a.m. And then when even that stops working, the sense of shame, frustration, confusion, grief that happens is debilitating. And so, what I want to start with, first of all, is by sharing the same support that I shared with this woman at the networking event who was trying to figure out how to juggle a successful business and her marriage and motherhood. And what I shared with her was this: first of all, trying to shortcut or hack or be the first woman in the history of womanhood who has a business and a marriage and a career without ever having to go through that disruptive identity death stage that comes with becoming a mother. That desire to shortcut that stage is universal. Okay. We've all done it. We have all gone in swinging post kids and thought, I'm going to be the first woman in history that has managed through sheer grit and willpower alone to bypass all of the emotional, hormonal, physical roadblocks and identity roadblocks that come with becoming a mother. I'm going to be the first one to bypass it. And so if you're in that stage of trying to bypass it, love, come and give me a cuddle. I did it, and I did it for far longer than I should have. And often when we have the ability to, it just means the crash is that much bigger. So what I will share with you instead is a bit of a mindset shift. The crash that comes with becoming a mother, the hormonal crash, the physical crash, the emotional crash, the identity complete rewrite that comes with becoming a mother I think before kids, we see that as a weakness. We see that as a failure. We see that as unnecessary. But I want to talk to you as someone on the other side of that massive identity shift. Even if your kids are quite a bit older and perhaps you feel like you're still in the pushing stage anyway. The person I am post kids and post that identity shift has such a greater capacity to innovate, to problem solve, and to connect and have passion and purpose than the version I was before kids. But it's because my driver is different. Before kids, it's okay, how can I push through, work past my capacity, and do more and be more than anyone else before me or beside me? Post kids, it's much more how can I get cleaner on my purpose, on my capacity, on the simplicity of what I'm trying to do or how I'm trying to connect, whether it's on a personal level or professional level. How can I simplify that? Not only so that I have the capacity to deliver what I promise I'm going to deliver, but so that I have enough in my tank to complete the mission that I said that I'm going to complete. Whether that's be connected as a wife, whether that's be a good mother, or whether that's show up in my business. What this has helped me to do is to be able to step back, delegate, find out what is within my control and what is not. It has allowed me to create a super crystal clear vision, super crystal clear purpose, super crystal clear system that helps others incredibly effectively, but also allows me to train others so that they have the capacity to share that gift as well. So that I am not stepping back so that it's easier for me, but so that it is clearer, so that it is more functional, so that I can help more people. And I want to share with you the type of business owner I am post kids versus pre kids is like personal growth on steroids. It's like CEO level success, problem solving, and insight on steroids. I don't want to be the version of myself that I was before kids. If I could go back and take the energy of myself before kids, I'll take it. But the way that I'm actually able to operate in the world and do my work and have the insight into people that I have now and the type of mother that I am now, I couldn't have got there without the crash that comes in the middle of, okay, my body is teaching me that this season is for grace. This season is for simplicity. This season is to step back, to have a clearer vision. Does that mean that I need to slow down in my business or stop my work? Absolutely not. When you break that into that simplicity, you find better solutions. But I think until you give yourself the opportunity to recognize that these changes are physiological and that what you're working with in terms of challenges in your marriage or challenges in your business are real, and the stats show that you are up against massive biological and practical and logistical shifts, that until we create room for almost the breakdown, then what we are signing ourselves up for is a prolonged period of stress and surface level navigation of problem solving, which doesn't get us anywhere long term. As women, we can actually take advantage of our biology and recognize that our body is wired for protection and for bonding. So, if we have the ability to take advantage hormonally of the purpose and the design of what all these feelings and emotions are, we can pre plan and communicate to our husband, to our partner, hey, this is what my capacity is going to be in this season. I'm going to need to tidy house. I'm going to need to make things much more simpler. I'm going to have to clean up the culture here. I'm going to have to clean up the delegation of roles. And I'm going to allow others to step more into their purpose and power inside this business because I really trust them and I know how to do that. When you are able to leverage that, the business can be stronger than it ever was pre kids. I say that with such immeasurable conviction because every leader I have seen who is able to scale their business and have a successful marriage has been someone who has been through that identity death stage where they're able to actually leverage the power of being a woman and the power of applying those learnings to a business and to their relationship in a way that works. And if you're a man listening to this and you're trying to understand why intimacy isn't where it needs to be, connection isn't where it needs to be, how to support your partner, your wife, when she's building a business, when she's trying to maintain her sense of purpose. What I would say, first of all, is that these shifts that you're noticing in her may be a sense of disconnection. It's biological. It starts off biological, but we can give ourselves grace and really harness each of the strengths in our own biology, either as a man or a woman, to build stronger connection in a marriage, in a relationship, and as parents, when we can leverage our understandings of biology. So, what that means is a woman is not trying to operate at the same pace that we did before we became a mother. It means leveraging the fact that when we take that care and the hormones that come in after you become a mother and apply that to your business in a new way, what you want is to, instead of micromanaging your business, become a mentor and a leader inside of your business and break things down simply so that your baby, your professional baby, has a lot more simplicity moving forward. And that allows your business to grow into something amazing as opposed to micromanaging the staff or the processes or the systems in it. And when it comes to your marriage, it's recognizing that your biology and your body and your systems and the way that communicate is going to be different. So come at conversations and invite your husband into those conversations from a place of problem solving. Hey, this is different from a biological level. I would love to hear your ideas, and I trust you to come in with some support around this in a way that allows these patterns to shift for us instead of us both bashing our heads against the table thinking that this is just an isolated problem that only you and I are experiencing. No, these are big shifts that happen in any marriage post kids. And when you come at it from that angle, then you don't have to become a statistic. I highly recommend you both, either way, listening to the podcast episode where my husband and I go a little bit deeper into this to uncover the patterns that men and women bring to a relationship and to a marriage post kids, and just really hear from his perspective as well how to break that resentment defensive dance. I hope this episode has really supported you for where you're at. And if you have any more questions, please come hang out with me on Instagram at Lauren_Dry. Please like this episode, follow along, make sure to subscribe. And if you have any questions and something you'd like me to go a little bit deeper on, just drop it in the show notes and I will make sure to follow it up in the next episode. Thanks for being here. Big love.